have to talk about what is happening in France right now, and the case that is causing countless French people, but especially French women, to gather together and to demand justice. Because only a few days ago, the trial of Dominique Pellicot started. The man that sedated his wife again and again for over a decade and allowed over 70 men to SA her while he was filming it and taking pictures of it.
We are not safe anywhere, even in our homes. Even our partners can do things to us that when we find out, it's terrible. And you see some people celebrate 10, 20 years of marriage and they're happy. You be like, oh, they've been together for so long. That means their love is strong. Imagine just somebody just come and show you videos of your husband bringing so many men into the house and they were graping you. And you don't even recognize yourself because you're like, no, like, I don't have these things. Like, I don't remember any of this. He was drugging you and bringing men, not one, not two, not three, over 70 men into your home to come and essay you, grape you, do whatever they want to do with you. This happened since 2011 until 2020. From 2011 to 2020, that's what he was doing to his wife. Different men. Let me show you all this video and I'll be back to share my thoughts at the end of the video.
We have to talk about what is happening in France right now, and the case that is causing countless French people, but especially French women, to gather together and to demand justice. Because only a few days ago, the trial of Dominique Pellicot started. The man that sedated his wife again and again for over a decade and allowed over 70 men to SA her while he was filming it and taking pictures of it. I will be going into a lot of graphic details of this case, so if you cannot bear to hear that right now, that is absolutely fine. Please skip this video. At this point, Dominique and Giselle Pellicot have been married for over 50 years. But in 2011, Dominique started his attack on her. With the footage that they have from Dominique's electric devices, they confirmed that over 92 SAs occurred and that at least 72 men were involved in this. 50 of those men have been identified and they are standing trial right next to Dominique. And this is also where I have a little issue with media outlets because they don't really like to say that it was 72 men. They like to say dozens of men. I don't understand why they are so afraid of using the actual number. To sedate her, he used very strong tranquilizers and anxiety-reducing medicine. And he was caught doing this because of another crime, actually. In September of 2020, this man was caught by another security guard at a shopping center while he was trying to film up the skirts of 3 other women. When the investigators then took all of his devices, they discovered what he had been doing to Giselle. Countless videos and pictures of her, but not only her, but also the couple's daughter, because they have 3 children, and the couple's daughters-in-law. There were pictures of them in the bathroom while they were sleeping, all taken obviously without their knowledge or consent. And it's actually really heartbreaking because this is how Giselle found out, because then investigators went to her and they were like, we have to show you very distressing images on your husband's computer. And she was in total shock. She did not understand what she was seeing. She did not recognize herself in the footage. She was like, who's this woman? And that is when the investigators had to tell her, it's you. This trial will be so difficult for her because it will be the first time she will have to go through all of the footage that was on her husband's computer. And it's also the first time she truly has to relive what she went through, things that she cannot remember at all. Dominique was recruiting these men online. He didn't even want any type of payment. He didn't do any of this for money or any type of financial gain. He did it because he enjoyed it. He enjoyed seeing his wife being SA'd. On some occasions, he even joined in. While the men were doing what they were doing, he encouraged them. He told them to use degrading language. But he also had multiple rules. First, you are not allowed to wear any type of perfume or are allowed to have any type of, smoke residue on you that could wake Giselle up. And you are also not allowed to use any type of condoms. He wanted to hurt his wife as much as possible, and Giselle actually did get 4 STDs because of this. The men that were successfully identified were from the ages of 26 to 74. Some of them only participated once and others participated up to 6 times. They had all sorts of jobs. We have heard about firemen, journalists, people who work in offices, truck drivers. Dominique himself was an electrician. All your everyday average men you see all the time. Many also had families themselves. They had kids, they had wives while they were happily going out to SA a woman. And don't forget, these are the men that Dominique filmed. We do not know how many men were actually there that he did not film. The number could be way higher than this. It could have been anyone and everyone, but women are the bad people when we say that we have to be cautious of all men. And here's the kicker, the men's main defense is that they did not know what was going on. They thought the couple were swingers, that they wanted this, that Giselle wanted this. And they thought that they were being these good Samaritans by helping an elderly couple to fulfill their fantasy. They don't care that, Giselle's state was being described as comatose. They have zero guilt, zero regrets. They are trying to, cover their own behinds. And this is going to be a bit besides the point, but I have seen some discourse on this. There are certain things that are kinks, and then there are certain things where you are imitating a crime. I am not saying that these men did not know what they were going in, but if you are in fact a person whose ultimate fantasy it is to SA somebody, but you don't want to actually go out and SA somebody, so you want to find somebody who can pretend to be asleep, unconscious, whatever, so you can live out that fantasy. You don't need to, live out that fantasy. You need therapy. That isn't a little thing to spice up your life in the bedroom. That is you fantasizing about a crime that happens to countless people, but especially women, on a daily basis. You have to get to the root of why this is something you want to fantasize about. People understand that when there's people whose fantasy it is to do things with minors, then they understand why they need therapy and not to live out that fantasy. But when it comes to men wanting to SA women, all of a sudden that is just a kink, an innocent little thing. Anyways, back to the case. Dominic's defense is that he was SA'd as a 9-year-old. Obviously, if that happened, that is horrible, but that does not justify, doing this to his wife. I don't know why they want to bring that up. And now get this, he was also charged for 2 cold cases. One is from 1991, where there was an SA and an unaliving of a person. He denies that he did that. But another one is for an attempted SA in 1999, and he admitted to it after DNA tests linked him to the scene and the victim. So we see that this is something that Dominic has been doing for decades now. His defense also said that he's truly ashamed of what he did, and you can see that because he did not protest his arrest or the trial or anything like that. They have video footage of you doing what you were doing, and they have over 50 other perpetrators like yourself on trial as well. How can you protest that? And he's also not ashamed of what he did. He's ashamed that he got caught. Let's get that right. And to be honest, this being his defense should show you how little remorse he actually feels. He does not care. It is so brave of Giselle to have this trial in public. She also said that having this trial behind closed doors would be what the perpetrators would want. And what they want is the last thing she wants. She wants her husband's name to be out there. She wants the perpetrators' names to be out there. If that means that she cannot stay anonymous in this, so be it. She wants to bring awareness to this, and it has worked. There are a lot of people right now raising awareness for chemical submission, which is the act of giving substances to somebody, sedating somebody, so you can either, steal from them or SA them or harm them in any other way. And it's also so heartbreaking because for the last decade, Giselle thought that there was something wrong with her. Because while she did not remember the attacks, she had symptoms of, memory loss, hair loss, things like this. She thought she was going crazy. Maybe she was getting old. Maybe it was Alzheimer's. Maybe it was dementia. She also complained about an inflamed cervix and pain in her abdomen. She thought she had cancer. And I'm sure whenever she voiced these concerns, her loving and amazing husband of 50 years was by her side telling her, it'll be all right. You're just panicking. I'm sure it's nothing. And here I want to talk about another disgusting thing I have seen. I have seen people blame her. How do you not know your husband is doing all of this to you? You have memory loss for over 10 years and you don't realize what's going on. It is so easy to judge from behind your screen, isn't it? There have been no reports of any type of violent behavior from Dominic, not from his other family members, not from his wife. And by that point, they had been married for like 40 years. So truly, I want to ask you, how many of you guys, when you're nearing your 60s and all of a sudden after 40 years of marriage, you start having memory loss, hair loss, your body is having pains in places it did not have any type of pain before. How many of you guys would think, oh, it's probably because my husband is sedating me and is calling other men to our house so they can SA me? There are many people to blame for what happened here, but Giselle is not one of them. And to be honest, seeing how certain media outlets are talking about this case or have talked about this case before they were called out is also very disgusting. I saw this video about how the Telegraph reported on this case when it first, became so public. Wife takes public revenge on men who SA'd her every night on husband's orders. 2 things, babe. Getting your justice is not revenge. Her husband committed a crime, so he should, stand trial for that crime. That is not revenge. That is the way things are in our legal system. So don't try to make Giselle out to be this vengeful wife that is scorned. And also, these men did not just do anything on her husband's orders. They had their own minds. They were adults. It's making it out as if these other perpetrators did not know what they were doing. They were grown men and they did know what they were doing every step of the way. But guess what? After the Telegraph was called out for this, they just, changed the headline very quick and never made a statement on it. Now it's wife waives anonymity in trial against men who SA'd her every night on husband's orders. They removed the first part, but the part about the husband's orders is still there, Baby steps, Telegraph, baby steps. I genuinely hope that all of these men who are tried for this will never see the light of day again, but I seriously doubt it, and that is incredibly scary. I think Dominic will obviously have to serve the longest time, but I also think a lot of these men will get away with this. There are 50 men on trial. 20 of the men that were in the videos have not been identified. They're living their best lives right now, with regular jobs, with with families. It is so terrifying. They could be anyone you see on the street. And once again, those were the men that were on the videos. We don't know how many perpetrators there actually are. And I'm sure a lot of these 50 men will only get a year or two, or they will get probation or stuff like that. Then they will also be out again, living normal lives, normal jobs, everyday people. I truly hope that the names of every single one of them will be revealed so people know who to look out for. Justice needs to be served.
We have some updates to this horrific case that's just come out of France, and just a trigger warning, I am going to go into a bit of detail about SA, and honestly, when you thought the story couldn't get worse, it gets worse. So firstly, a man is currently on trial for basically drugging his wife for many years and then getting men off the internet to come and assault her. Now, in my previous video, I said that there was around 93 different assaults. This number does need to be updated because in total on his files on his computer, there was over 300 assaults, but more than half of them was done by him himself. So he was drugging his wife and then assaulting her and then filming it. Now, even though we've only learned about this right now in 2024, since it's gone public, this situation did happen in 2020. So Giselle, who is one of the victims, that's correct, one of the victims, has now divorced her husband, so she has no ties to him. Some other disturbing information about this case is that when he would give men specific instructions when they were coming to the house to do this horrific ordeal, he would always ask them to park in a specific place that was like a few minutes from the house, and they'd always have to wait in their car for at least an hour to make sure that the drugs had really kicked in with Giselle. Apparently, he also used to ask the people coming to not wear a condom, which, like, I don't even understand that one. I don't understand any of it, but I mean, okay. Now, a lot of people have asked, like, how did she not notice? Like, did she not see any symptoms? This lady was going to the doctors for basically 10 years, saying that she had memory problems, like she would forget haircuts that she had, like she had severe memory problems because of this drug that she was being given, at the level that she was given it at, and how frequently she was given it. Her memory got so bad that people thought that she had Alzheimer's. The way this man got caught was by pure accident. It wasn't even the police kind of like caught on to him buying the drugs or anything, which is what I originally thought. Like, no, he literally got caught trying to take pictures up of girls' skirts in public, and he got arrested for that, which led to the investigation. So this woman to this day could still have been getting drugged and assaulted if that situation didn't happen in 2020 where he tried to take pictures up of girls' skirts. After the police found all the files on his computer, he brought the couple in and then they interviewed Giselle independently, and they kind of asked her about her sex life. They said, you know, has she ever ventured with other partners? And she responded and she was like, no, I'm a one-man woman. After talking to her for a little while, it kind of dawned onto the police that this woman might have no idea. So what they did next is they asked her to brace herself, and they said that they were going to show her a photo. And when they showed her the photo, Giselle basically looked at it, and there was 3 people in the photo, which is the next disturbing realization. It was 2 men that she didn't recognize and a woman that she didn't recognize. She had to look at the photo properly because the police kept prompting her to be like, who's the woman in the photo? And she was like, I don't know, because she didn't recognize the clothes, which meant that her husband had changed the clothes that she was in before these men would come and essay her. Like, he would change her. And it was only after staring at it for a long time where, like, the police were like, this is your bedroom, like, this is your room, that's you. And she basically didn't believe it, and then they showed her a few more different photos. Oh wait, really quickly, there were 2 men in that photo that she didn't recognize. That meant that she was being assaulted by multiple people at the same time. I thought it was just like one at a time. No. Okay, so she found it hard to believe that that was her in the first photo, so then they showed her a couple more, and when it got to like 5 or 6 photos, like, she had to like stop, and she felt sick. She started having a panic attack, like natural reactions that you would have if someone showed you photos of you that you do not recognize. So let's bear in mind that she's now had 4 years to process this information, because she found out in 2020, but like the rest of the world only found out now. There's a few apparent reasons as to why she's decided to take this court case public. One of them is apparently that during the last kind of 4 years, in the last recent year, it started to be turned around where like she was kind of being blamed for it, and she was being made to feel shame, and she was like, no, let me go public and revert the shame back on the people that deserve it. And couldn't agree more. Now, apparently some of the men who were in the videos who came to do this horrific thing to this woman have come out in interviews with the police to be like, oh, like, I didn't know that she was drugged. I thought she was pretending to be asleep. And that point is important for something to do with the court, which I'll tell you in a minute. She was tested for sexually transmitted diseases and they found out that she had 4. Now, I said that there were multiple victims. It has come to light that on his computer, this man has apparently got a file of his daughter. That's correct, his daughter. So there is potential that this man drugged his daughter with the same drug, which by the way was sleeping medication, but he was dosing his wife and probably his daughter to the level of just beyond passed out. Now, I haven't seen anything about any essay directly to his daughter. What I've heard is that they are just nude photos of his daughter. And honestly, that's already bad, but I just pray that that's where that ended. Now, the thing that got me was that this situation happened to Giselle in her later age of life that we know of from the files. It dates back to basically when she started being 60 to the end of her 60s, which is when police found the files. That age thing really stuck to me until someone commented this, and then I felt horrifically sick, because this kind of makes sense. The fact that he might have waited until she had passed menopause so that he knew that there was no way that she could get pregnant. That in itself is evil, it's vile, it's disgusting, it's incomprehensible again. And the last piece, which honestly, this one infuriates me to the end of life, is that because it's innocent until proven guilty, when in court they are talking about the photos and the videos, they can't call it Grape. They can't. They have to call it sex scene. They have to refer to those videos in court until a verdict is done. They have to call them sex scenes. That's all that's come out at the moment, and I'm scared to think that probably more is going to come out. But the last thing I'm going to say is that apparently he was also arrested in 1999 over SA and murder. And I don't really know much more about that, but that's in there as well. I mean, there's so much, and more than you would ever want to see. This case is mind-blowing.
So a man drugged his wife, invited men into their house, into their bed so they could rape her. He created a forum for all these men and others as well to understand what was happening, to take part if they felt like it, to understand the process, the rules. And he also took videos and pictures of the grapes. For 10 years, this poor woman keeps going from doctor to doctor because something's wrong. She doesn't feel okay. She's losing time. Her memory's terrible. She feels like she's losing her mind. She navigates medical limbo for 10 years with her husband by her side, going to these doctor's appointments, knowing damn well that everything is his fault, but holding her hand. One day, he gets arrested for filming under women's skirts in the streets. After he gets arrested, the police takes his phone. That's when they find the videos and the pictures of the grapes, his wife. They are the ones who end up telling the poor woman everything that she had been going through. The husband confesses to everything. Everything. He explains why he did it, how he did it, how he was in contact with all these men, what the rules were, how they were supposed to park over 1 kilometer away from the house so that the neighbors wouldn't get suspicious, how the men had to get undressed before they entered the room, how they weren't allowed to smell like anything in particular, such as cigarettes or perfume, so that the wife wouldn't know what was happening, how he was putting the drugs in her wine before she was going to bed. So he confesses, and again, there is hard evidence. The videos and the pictures and the forum. And all the men that both raped this woman, but also the ones that knew about it. And still, some men don't believe her. Or feel like she asked for it. Feel like she's not really a victim. I want you to hear what I'm saying before jumping to conclusions, but this woman is the perfect victim. She's an older woman, she's white, she's not poor, she's married, she's Catholic, she's a mother and a grandmother. She's beloved in her community. She doesn't have a police record. She's not known to be promiscuous. And again, it's an insanely strong case. And they still don't believe her. They still don't see her as a victim. They still believe that she is to blame somehow. So what does that say for the rest of us? If she's not somehow perfect enough to be the perfect victim, to be the one they believe, to be the one they support, then who the fuck is?
I've been seeing this very heartbreaking video. It's a court proceeding of a woman who, her husband, a man that she married, that she trusted and married for so many years, has been recording her. He would drug her and invite other men, strange men, to come and sleep with her. The ones that they've seen so far, they say for more than 92 times. She was raped more than 92 times by 75 men. 75 strangers with whatever diseases they have on them. And a lot of these people are educated. They say some of these men are even nurses, like professional people. This man would invite them to come and grape his wife. Not only his wife. Later on, I saw another video where they said, including, he did the same thing to his daughter. How on earth? How on earth? And I know that when I first saw the thing, my first instinct was like, this should not be a normal person. At first, I was like, I don't think this is a normal man. Maybe he's insane. But then, when a person objectifies you, and when people are socialized to objectify people, there is nothing the person will not be capable of doing to you. Because in the first place, it has not registered in their minds that you're a human being. They may know it verbally, but it has not registered in their subconscious, unconscious, whatever mind that you are a human being. And whatever hurts that they experience, you are capable of experiencing it and even more. So it's just like I own a bag. I can throw the bag away and it will still not mean anything, because I don't think that bag should even have a say as to what I do with the bag, because I purchased it. That's why I say, because a person married you does not mean they married you out of love. People can marry you, and they can marry you for the craziest fantasies in their heads. I genuinely want to believe that this guy is mentally unstable. I genuinely want to believe it. But unfortunately, I also know that a person with a privilege would never look at you as a human being. The lady allowed the footage to be shared in court.
The painful part is there are some women that are going through these things and they don't even know they are going through it. In case you are having some pain that does not have, you don't know what that pain, you keep having pain, down there, your tummy, you keep, maybe something like that is happening, you don't know. Because she was complaining of pain and probably the husband would be like, it's one of those things. In fact, she even thought she had cancer. Because there's no and according to that lady's video, she said there are some men that came back to do it. So when you're counting, you're not counting the man twice. So imagine, it's not that they did it 70 something times. Even if they did it one time, it's still terrible. But imagine somebody coming like 5 to 6 times. And you know the annoying part? These men are matured. The men that were coming in, they are matured. It's not like they were also sedated or they were drugged or something. No. They entered with their clear eyes. They knew what was going on. Sometimes you might bring it to a building and be like, oh, I want you to come and do this to this kind of person. And you enter and be like, I know this person is unconscious now. I can't do this. Because you know it's wrong. No, they knew this person was unconscious, but they kept on doing it. Their own is, it was going to make the man happy, or if they were getting paid, I don't know. No matter the money, that was terrible. So this could have been going on, and nobody would know. Nobody would have known, and maybe anything could have happened. In the comment section of that video, somebody said this is exactly what happened to her. In fact, she said she's afraid to check the phone because she has been with the phone and she hit the phone and she cannot check the phone because she allowed her friend to check the phone and her friend was crying and said this is bad. Her husband did the same thing to her. I saw again in the comment section, someone said, this is exactly what I'm going through. Some people don't even need to sedate their wives. All they need to tell her that, threaten her with either gun, knife, anything so that she's going to keep quiet and they will do whatever they want to do. Your husband that is supposed to protect you, your man that is supposed to be there for you, is the one doing all of this. When people say men hate their wives, when people say men hate women, men does not, these are the reasons. These are one of the reasons. I think he was also doing same thing to the daughters as well. This is scary. This is intense. Just imagine from nowhere, you just realize that you've been essayed Grape with different men. You were seeing videos, and I'm sure she has not watched all the videos, and he was recording them. So aside from him watching his real life, he was recording it. This is beyond devastating. This is so sad. I just decided to share with you in case you've not heard the news about Giselle in France. At least now you're aware of what's going on. They're under trial according to the video, and I just hope everything works out fine for her. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let's have conversation in the comment section respectfully. And thank you so much for tuning in today's video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.